Hi everybody, I'm Miss Rachel and today I'm going to show you how to make a split slit card. So let's hop on over to the table so I can show you what it is, what you need to make it, and how to make it. So hold on. Let's see. Okay, so here are a couple of my examples. So if you saw our ad and you follow us on Instagram and Facebook, then you saw this one. And this is my little drawing. He's a cute little turtle. And if you fold him up and then lift up these flaps, you can open the card up one way, 2, 3, and 4. So you have all of this in this tiny little package, which I think is really cool. So I'm going to show you what we need to get started. So you'll need a couple sheets of paper. I'm going to just slide this off to the side. You'll need a couple sheets of paper. I have a couple different colors because I wanted to add the different embellishments on the inside. But if you just have one sheet of paper, that will actually work for this project. Just one sheet of computer paper will get you through the entire project. So if you want to add the embellishments like mine, then you'll need a couple different sheets, different colors. You'll also need something to draw with, so some markers. I use colored pencils today for a change. Also, some pens might be good to add some embellishments on the inside. You'll also need pencils and erasers for your measuring and all of that. So, of course, I have rulers because I'm going to be measuring. And you'll need some glue. I'm using a glue stick because the drying time is a lot faster than Elmer's glue. But if all you have is Elmer's glue, go ahead and use that. You'll also need some scissors. And today I'm going to show you how to use a utility knife. But I would highly suggest, if you have not used this before, you need to have a guardian present, guardian, parent, somebody, because I know firsthand or first finger that you can really hurt yourself with open blades like this. So when that point in the tutorial comes along, I will let you know what to do and how to use this blade. But if you do not have a present guardian nearby, if you're at home by yourself and you're not you don't have anybody nearby, don't use this because you can really hurt yourself. And you can do what we're going to do with scissors, but in the spirit of learning a little more about art and increasing our practice in our craft, I'm going to show you how to use this new tool. If you're going to use this, you will also need something to cut on. I have a cutting mat, but you can also use a couple layers of cardboard to cut on top of, because the blade is going to go through the paper, which is what makes the cut, and it's going to cut the mat. So that's why you want to have something protecting your table. You don't want to cut up your table. A couple sheets of cardboard will do just fine. And I also bought this cheap little placemat from the Dollar Tree. So it's plastic and kind of thick, so it might also work too. But if you happen to have a blade with a mat, this is the best option. But you can also use cardboard or a cheap plastic cutting or placemat that people eat on, or even one of those tiny little cutting boards that you might get from the Dollar Tree. Sometimes they're in shapes of fruits and vegetables. I have a couple in my kitchen, but you need something to protect your work area. All that being said, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is take our paper, one sheet of paper that you want to be the main part of your card. So it will end up being this salmon color portion here. So I'm going to use green right now. And you're going to measure out a 21 by 21 centimeter square, and we're using metric today because that just makes it easier to divide up our paper. Because if we used the imperial side, the 8.5, we have to divide 8.5 by 3, and we're not getting into all that math. So 21 is a lot easier to divide by 3 than 8.5. So you're gonna create a 21 by 21 inch square on this paper. And I actually already have a sheet marked up for you, so I will talk you through it and then we'll move on. So you're going to take your ruler and line it up with the bottom edge of the paper. And you want to line up the 1 centimeter mark with the edge of the paper, and then over here at the 21 centimeter mark, you're going to make a little point. And then you're going to move this up along your paper to the top and do the same thing. Line it up, make your mark. And once you have both of those marks, you're going to line your ruler up along the marks and then draw your line. Then you'll turn your paper sideways, line the edge up with the 0 point, and then make your mark at 21 centimeters right here. And then do it again at the bottom here. And then you'll line up these 2 marks because they're the ones that you just made. And you will draw your line. And now that you have this larger square, you're going to make the smaller squares by turning your paper again, lining up your ruler with the bottom of your page. And you're going to make marks at 7 and 14. And that's going to help you make these lines here. Then you'll go up to the top of your 21 centimeter square and make marks at 7 and 14 and connect them like we did the other lines. Then you'll turn it this way and do the same thing. Line up the edge of the ruler with the edge of the paper. Make marks at 7 and 14 on the top, 7 and 14 on the bottom, and then connect them. And once you have that done, you will have a page that looks like this. On this one, I didn't draw my lines, but you are going to fold your paper on the lines that you drew. So that, fold them just along the lines that you drew, and you'll have this, what am I calling this? Like a tic-tac-toe shape. So once we get to this step, now we're going to start cutting. You are going to cut out these top 2 squares. So this square here, you're going to cut out, and then this square here, you're also going to cut out. So you can use your scissors to do that and cut along the fold carefully. You want to get right along that fold. And you want to be as accurate as you can, but I will mention that I've done this project 3 or 4 times and I haven't gotten it exactly perfect, so it's not going to ruin anything if you are a little shaky with your cutting. But if you take your time, you can do a good job. So snip that off. Turn, and remember when you're cutting, turn your paper so that how you're cutting is comfortable for you. Because if you're cutting in a weird way and your arm is doing all kinds of craziness, you're going to end up messing that up. Okay? So now we cut off our corners, and you can keep these because you may want to add them back onto your card later as decoration, like in these areas. So I would set these to the side for now. I wouldn't throw them away. But we have those top squares cut out. So now we're going to cut along our fold right here outward. Just along these bottom 2 squares right here to here, and then here to here. So you're going to take your scissors and carefully cut that, snip it. And the same over here. Cool. So now these should be able to fold in, and you should be able to have a cross-shaped paper like this. That's how you know you did it right. Okay? We're going to fold them out now. And then we're going to take these middle squares that we have here. I'm going to fold one over into the center. Then I'm going to take this edge here and fold it back to this edge right here. Cool. And for this project, we're doing a lot of folding. So if you want to use your scissors to really get your creases down in there, that is helpful. And then you're going to unfold this and do that same step to this other side. So fold it inward. Take this edge here and fold it out. Righty. Cool. Use the back of your scissors to really get that crease in there. Alrighty. So at this step, you need your tiny little drawing for the closing. So I would suggest that you keep this drawing really small. In fact, I drew a little 3 centimeter by 3 centimeter square at the bottom of this little page, and I drew a heart, and then I cut that out. So that is a good size for the closing for this size of the card. If you're going to size this up and do a bigger card, you can do a bigger drawing, but I found that the smaller drawing fits better in the slit and the card works better. Like this. Because if your drawing is too big, then the card will get caught on it and it will rip right down here. So you want to keep that drawing right in the 3 centimeter by 3 centimeter area, because I tried to do this larger one earlier, and that's why this is open like this, because I couldn't get it over my drawing. So if you want to do a big drawing, you can have 2 little kind of levers that come down. But if you want a closed slit here, then definitely make sure your drawing is small. All right, all that said, you drew your 3 centimeter drawing, and I would keep it simple because you have to cut it out again. So we have it here. I'm going to slide this out the way. And now I'm just going to cut this in half. And it doesn't need to be perfectly in half, just enough to divide it up. So I have that. Now I'm going to fold these inward and kind of lay this where I want them to be. If you want, you can take your pencil and make marks so you will know exactly where to glue it down. But I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. And I'm going to take my glue stick, put a little glue on the back of that. And you want to use this folded edge as your guide and line up the straight edge of your drawing where you cut it with that edge. So there we go. Alrighty, and then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So I think having this kind of folded closed helps you line it up really well. There we go. Alrighty. So now you have that. So the next step would be to cut this area out so that your drawing, show you this one, will be the only thing left on this flap. So you can take your scissors and carefully cut that out. I'm going to cut along my fold first. Just carefully cut right up to the drawing. Turn it around and do the same thing. And you really want to take your time so that you don't mess up your drawing too much. And one thing that might be a good idea is to create a really thick border around your drawing so you can have some wiggle room when you're cutting. Because you want to get right up to the edge, but if you have a thick border that you can kind of cut into, that might make this process a little bit easier and make your final project look a little bit cleaner. So, I am going to fold this closed and fold that up and grab a little clip. So to help me cut this so my paper isn't all over the place, I'm just going to paper clip this shut so my paper isn't wobbling all around. So maybe even, because having my paper shake all over the place is making it kind of difficult. So you don't need to have that, but it might help. All right. Let's cut this down. And as you can see, I am turning my paper so that the cutting is a little bit easier. And I'm throwing stuff away as I go, so make sure you have something handy there to catch your scraps. But just make sure you're turning your paper so that it is comfortable for you to cut, because that makes this whole process a little easier. So I have that part cut out. So now y'all are gonna watch me struggle through the next part. Okay, fold that down and clip it. Like I said, you don't need to have this clip. It is not a part of the finished project, but it does kind of help as you're cutting so your paper isn't flapping all around, kind of getting in the way. Okay. And remember to throw away your scraps as you make them. These little scraps I'm not going to use, so I'm just going to throw them away as I go. Okay. So another thing you want to keep in mind with your drawing is you have to cut it out a couple times. So if you're not that great at cutting, you will want to make this a very simple shape. So you could make just a square closure instead of a heart, and then draw something cool inside of that square. That could be cool. So there we go. That's together. Flip this open again. All right. Well, now what step are we on? Okay, I think we're about at step 10. We just finished 10. We cut out the flaps. And now we're going to create our slit opening right up here. So this is a super tiny, narrow opening, and I'm using the utility knife because it's going to be really easy to get that narrow opening with the knife, but you can do it with scissors. So before you do any of that, you might want to mark off exactly where you want to cut. So we're going to use our ruler on this top flap, and I am going to measure this. This should be 7 centimeters wide, so I'm going to make a mark in the middle at 3.5 centimeters. I'm going to do one on the top and one on the bottom. All right, so I have my marks at the top and at the bottom of the square, and I will connect them. And you don't want to draw super hard at this point because you'll want to erase your marks or cover them up later on, but now we have a line in the middle. And now I'm going to make another line just 1 millimeter over, and I'm going to use my mechanical pencil for this because I don't want my opening to be too wide. I want it to be really narrow. So now I'm making marks just 1 millimeter on each side of the line I drew, and doing the same thing at the bottom. So I will have 3 vertical lines. Okay, there we go. And now I'm lining this up again because I love to measure, and I'm going to make a mark across all 3 lines at the 1 centimeter mark, and then I'm going to do the same thing at the top. Line up the top and then across all 3 marks at the 1 centimeter mark. And now I have a rectangle in the middle to guide my cuts. So I'm going to do this again really quickly so I can demonstrate both the scissors and the utility knife. So, and this one isn't exact, but it's just for the purpose of showing you how to do this 2 different ways. And then we're gonna, there we go. So, if I was going to cut this opening with scissors, I would fold this in half and use my scissors to cut right along the line up to my 1 millimeter mark. And then you can either open this up and kind of pull your paper up and snip it that way, or you can keep it closed and just pull this out and then snip it off like that. So you can still get this opening with scissors. You do not have to use the blade. You can use scissors. And then when you decorate, you know, you can glue something on top of that if you want to cover up the crease or something. But I don't think it makes a huge enough difference to warrant using this if you don't have a parent present. But, however, if you do have someone nearby and you want to try this out, you need to use a metal ruler as you're cutting, because this blade will cut through your plastic ruler and mess it up. So I've had this metal ruler for a long time, but I found this metal ruler at the Dollar Tree just the other day. So if you don't have a metal ruler and you don't have a blade to cut with, if you want to try this out, you might be able to find this metal L square and this breakaway blade at the Dollar Tree. Actually, I can show you what the package looks like. Okay. It's called a utility knife, and you can find this in the section where the tools are, like the measuring tapes and all of that. So you can do this with stuff that you can find at the Dollar Tree. So when you are using your metal ruler, you know what? I'll actually use this for the first time. You want to make sure that you are holding it in place and that you've lined it up with your markings. And I like to hold it down and make sure my fingers are out of the way of the area that I'm cutting. Since I'm cutting from here to here, I'm holding it down outside of that area. And I'm standing up. I do not suggest cutting when you're sitting, because you can get the leverage and the pressure that you need a lot better when you are standing up. I have my mat underneath my paper, and I have my blade here and it's out, and then I'm going to pull this little square back to lock it in place so that it doesn't close as I'm pushing down to use it. So I have lined my ruler up with the measurement I want to cut, and I'm going to start at this top cut mark and then end at this bottom mark. So here we go. And I've got that. So I'm going to close this, set it to the side, slide this over, or actually it would probably be better if you turn this around so that you can see your markings and your measurements. You want to line up your ruler with the pencil line that you drew. Grab your knife, make sure your fingers are out of the way, lock your blade, and start at your top mark, end at the bottom. Close your blade, turn your paper again, and this one is a really tiny mark, so take your time, and then move that over again. Tiny mark. All right. And then once you're done, make sure your blade is always retracted and in its housing, so that when you go to pick this up later, or anybody else goes to pick this up later, they don't cut themselves by mistake. So you are done with this. You're done with all of this metal ruler stuff and knife stuff. So put it away. Put it away right now. In fact, I'll give you 5 seconds to do that, because you don't want to leave it out so that someone else can get hurt. Okay, is your knife away? Put up away from small children? Great. So now you're going to take this out, and if it's not cut all the way, just wiggle it a little bit, and you can just snatch it out like that. and throw your tiny scraps in the trash can. All right, so we are actually done with this card. The last thing that you will do is draw all over this and decorate it. But before you do that, we're just going to test it out. We're going to fold our bottom pieces inside on top of each other. And mine are a little, see, I told you I haven't gotten this perfect yet, but my square is a little long, and you can go back and trim that off if you want to. You can just use your rulers to snip off a little bit of the edge if it doesn't lay as flat if you want it to. So I will show you that now. Just trim off a tiny little bit. Okay, throw it away. And then now we got a much flatter lay. And then we're going to fold it up. There we go. And then we're going to fold these sides inward. Okay. And our drawing pieces will stand straight up. So at the top down, where you're looking at it, it will stand up like this. But from the side, this is what you'll see. And your opening should slide right over that, and then that will open up and keep the card together. So there you go. You have your split slit card. So now you will just open it all up, decorate it as much as you want. I would say, since you have so many different areas that you see as you open the card, decorate the front and the back. You could do a lot with this. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you got a kick out of this lesson and you learned something new. Make sure you drop a comment in the comment area if something else is, or if something that I showed you isn't super clear. I am here to help and I will respond to your comments. Make sure you leave a picture of what you came up with. We would love to see your projects. And remember to like, share, subscribe, all of that on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube so you can see all of our videos. Make sure you're following us so you get updates when we go live and with other programs that information about other programs we're doing. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we made a split slit card. I am Miss Rachel. This is Cap at Home. Have a great weekend. Bye.